So we're starting to look at the prophets today. Now remember, during 1 and 2 Kings, the country has split in two. That's why I put this tape down the middle. Israel were in the north and Judah were in the south. And we saw that there were kings of these different bits of the country, and some of the kings were good, but most of the kings were bad. Even all the kings were bad at the top up north. And during that time, God sent people like this guy here, prophets. He sent prophets to his people. And the prophets had a number of jobs. One of the things they did was remind. They reminded the people and the kings to follow God properly. They reminded them what God was like, that he was the only God. They reminded them what God had done for them, that he'd rescued them and looked after them. And he reminded them to follow and obey God. The prophets remind. But then the prophets warn. The prophets warned the kings and the people. They said, if you're doing wrong, then bad things are going to happen. God is going to punish you. So turn away from your wrong things before it's too late. They warned the people and the kings. And then thirdly, the prophets offered hope. They offered hope that even though God would punish them and that things would go badly because they wouldn't turn from their sin, God still keeps his promises. And the prophets were given visions. They could look up into the future and they could see a time when things would be even better than ever. A time where God would save not just his people, the Israelites, but people from all over the world and give them an amazing place to live and awesome blessing. The prophets, they remind, they warn, and they give hope. And just for today, we're going to look at a prophet called Amos. It's one of the shorter books of the prophets in the Bible. It's called one of the minor prophets because of that. And Amos, the prophet, used to be a shepherd. And he lived down here in the south. But he went to be a prophet to the northern kingdom, to the people and to the kings in Israel. And Amos reminds. He reminds the people that they should worship God alone, not worship idols. And he reminds them that God really cares for the poor and for the needy. And if they're going to follow God properly, they need to care for the poor and the needy. He says, if you seek God, you will seek good. If you seek God, you will seek good. But here's the problem. They haven't done that. They don't do that. Even though they do lots of religious stuff, they don't really seek God. They follow all sorts of other false gods. And because they've stopped following God, they've stopped caring about the poor and needy. You see, they've got huge mansions that they've built, that their rich people live in. They've got loads and loads of vineyards and loads of grapes that they can grow and eat or turn into wine. They've got expensive furniture. They have huge feasts with loads and loads of food. They even can afford to employ musicians to play them songs all the time. But here's the problem with the people Amos is talking to. They're proud and they don't care about the poor. They make the poor their slaves. They steal the poor's food. And if you were poor and you had a crime against you and you went to someone for help and for justice, they would just ignore you. In fact, they'd accept money to let the criminal off. They've rejected God, and so they've rejected good. And actually in Amos, through Amos, God shows that they're worse than all the other countries around them. Israel was supposed to be the best and show how good God was, but they're worse than everyone else around them. And so Amos warns. He says, you're going to be destroyed. Your mansions are going to be knocked down. Your vineyards, they're going to be wrecked. There'll be no more food to eat from the fields. You'll be invaded. You'll be taken away. You'll be destroyed. And we've already seen that's what happens, haven't we? Assyria came and invaded them, destroyed their buildings, took them away. Amos warns. But then right at the end, there's a glimmer of hope. Amos gives hope. God promises he's going to restore them. He's going to build back better. He says there's going to be a day where there'll be plenty of food for everyone. The people will return, they'll rebuild, they'll plant crops, they'll be safe forever. The people will be in God's place, blessed by God. Amos gives hope. But what can we learn from Amos? Well, I want us to have a think about that little phrase. If you seek God, you will seek good. If we seek God, we will seek good. Now seek God. It's not like God is hiding. It's not like I play with my toddler, I close my eyes and count to 10 and he runs away and I try and find him. That's not what God's doing. God isn't hiding from us. He's shown himself to us through Jesus. Jesus has come down to show us what God is like because Jesus is God. And so we can seek and we can know God through Jesus. And when we know Jesus, when we trust him, when we seek Jesus, that means we will seek good. We'll do good to others. We won't take advantage of them. We'll help them. We'll do what is right. Maybe we get that wrong sometimes, but when we do, we can always turn to Jesus for forgiveness. So there you go, that's Amos. Seek God, seek good.